Derek Stingley's rolling down in Texas. Who would you put on an NFL roster if you could right now today? And either or coming at you live with John Harris. This is Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Tracy. And y'all know what it is, man. It's Wednesday, so we got John Harris with us. Got at Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter, at J Harris, J Football.
J Harris Football. You got it.
J Harris Football. There we go on Twitter. And, of course, you can find me at Eric_Crocker. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And, of course, excited to talk about some good things and specifically what's going on right now with rookie Derek Stingley Jr. over there with the Houston Texans. He was the third overall pick. This is a guy who missed most of last season, had lower body injury. People were trying to wonder what version of Houston is Derek Stingley going to get. So, John, let us know, how has Derek Stingley Jr. been in practice, and has he been able to cover Brandon Cooks?
Man, I don't know who can cover Brandon Cooks, man. First of all, I got to give Stockton, California props because they spit out some ball players, man. Yeah. Brandon Cooks is ridiculous. Everything he does, he's so difficult to cover. But what I love about it is each and every day with Sting, we use that phrase, guys that play for a while, he's shaking the rust off. He's shaking the rust off. It's almost like you can see it coming off of Stingley each and every day. Like he's doing something different every single day. And when we talked about Sting back in draft season, we didn't get into heated discussions, but we talked about, and there were a lot of positions that fell into this: Hutchinson or Walker, Neal or Ekwonu. And then in the defensive backfield, it was Sauce or it was Stingley. And we, talked about what Stingley brought to the party. And then when the Texans drafted him, I remember hearing, and it wasn't you guys, but I just remember hearing, man, you got Stingley to play all that cover two. First of all, newsflash, we don't run cover two, but about 20% of the time. So that's not always, it just goes with Lovie Smith and you start with a narrative and you stick with it. But even when we play cover two, I'm seeing a huge asset in Derek Stingley because of how he transitions in and out of his breaks and how he can read and see things from a cover two position. He is extremely smart. There were two plays that stood out. Yesterday, he was going against Brandon Cooks, and they rolled from a 3 to a 2. So they were disguising the cover 3, and Pitre was down in the box, and they rolled it to a 2. And Cooks was out alone on Stingley. So Stingley immediately gets to a cover two corner position, and he's so light on his feet. He knows Pitre's got to get all the way back there to make the disguise work. And so he just widens and widens and widens Cooks out just by his shuffle and his jam, almost to a point where Cooks is almost out of bounds. So then when Cooks finally turns it up, it gave Pitre time to get out there. But then Sting turns himself and is in a point where he can pick the ball off because he made such a great turn on the ball. Mills has got to pump it twice, can't find it, goes the other side of the field, and there's nobody there. He wanted Cooks. Like, he's staring down Cooks the whole time, but because of Sting's movement, he was able to cut that off. Then today they were working down in the red zone, and so they had two receivers. They had Nico out wide, and they had Chris Moore in the slot, and they were basically running a quick in with the post behind it. And the thought being, if they catch him in 2, then maybe Sting bites on the little quick in, and they can work the corner behind him. Well, Sting sees that in, he signals the linebacker, hey, underneath this guy, basically you got Collins, and he then drops to the corner and gets right in the hip pocket of the receiver running the route. Baseball turns, and Mills can't fit it in there. And I just watched that, and I said, we have never had a corner in Houston that could do that. Other than Jonathan Joseph, maybe. We have never had a corner that can do that. Now, he can play man. We know he can do that. He's still kind of working through how do you cover a guy like Brandon Cooks. But in zone, I've gotten really excited about what Derek Stingley can do. He's smart. He's physical. And I've seen the break on the ball, the transitional quickness that I've wanted to see. Balls that are thrown in front of him. He is breaking hard. He's making those throws challenging, even on quick hitches, quick slants, all those kind of things. He is really, at this point, about everything we thought he would be. And I still feel like he can get even better with just getting more comfortable in the defense and such. And I think before too long, Lovie Smith's going to see some things he can do with Stingley that he's not been able to do with other corners before that he's coached, and that they can maybe do some things defensively that are a little different to shake things up as they get through the schedule. So he has been everything we have wanted him to be and then some. And it's just now we've got to keep him healthy. If he is banged up, then it gets dicey at corner. But if he is in the ball game, he changes so much for us at that position, and especially play next to Pitre. That could be our secondary for the next how many ever years with those two leading it, and that will make our defense that much better.
How has Pitre been, right? All the focus has been on Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah.
You see the reports of him every time they cut to the Houston Texans at practice, but you do have another rookie back there. You got Jalen Pitre there. You got rookie linebacker that's in there as well. How is Jalen Pitre translated to the NFL, and are you guys expecting a big year out of him?
So if anybody knows anything about the Texans, which I know a lot of people don't know, they were still a young franchise for the most part, but Bill O'Brien was head coach the last few years, and O'Brien came out of the Belichick school where, we put together the depth chart, and everybody releases those unofficial, and I stress the word unofficial, depth charts. But whenever those things come out, no matter who the rookie was, that rookie ended up being like 13. I think the first unofficial depth chart we put out back in 2017 listed Tom Savage, then Brandon Whedon, then Deshaun Watson. And people just scoffed at it. But that was kind of the way that Bill went about rookies. Like rookies just nothing. Well, they put out the unofficial depth chart today. The Texans, Nick and everybody did. It has Stingley at one corner. It has Jalen Pitre at safety. And coming out of OTAs and minicamps, Lovie Smith told us, he's a starter. Like, he just mentioned it like it was, a fait accompli. Jalen Pitre will start. And, man, is he fun to watch. He is so explosive. And he's bigger than I thought, Eric. He's much bigger. I remember meeting you for the first time, and I was like, yo, Crock is bigger than I thought. He's kind of built like you and can move, can get to things in the middle of the field if they're playing three, down in the box. He's physical when he needs to. He'll take on blocks. We knew all that about him at Baylor. He's been asked to play a little bit more, obviously, because they're playing a lot of two in training camp. But he can handle that and handle it pretty well. And he's learning, too. There was one day where he gave away his disguise way early. Mills saw it, checked a different route, and Pitre ended up getting burned on the play, in large part because he gave up his disguise too early. When that play I was telling you about with Sting, he held that disguise so long, and because he did, and he trusted the fact he'd get over the top and cover two, they were able to shut that play down. So he's kind of learning a little bit at a time, and he is all ball all the time. It is football, and that's it. And as a fan of the Texans, or people want to know about Jalen Pitre, like, that's it. He's studying his playbook. He brings his backpack to him to practice every single day, where he's got his iPad in there. He's watching iPad during the series when he comes out, which is something new in the NFL, which I think is kind of cool, that you can grab the iPad and just start watching the plays that you were just in on. And so he's doing that. He is everything that Lovie Smith and Nick Caserio want him to be, and he will start day one, no doubt, at safety.
Nice. That's good stuff right there. Those are the things you want to hear about your young rookies and defensive backs. We're going to plug in a prospect from the 2023 NFL draft class onto a team now and make that team better. But first, I want to tell you about our good folks over at BetOnline.net and how it's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. And you can find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball. You got the NFL, you got the NBA, you got NHL, you got combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, podcasts. They got you covered with all of that. Head over right now today to BetOnline and use your mobile device to learn more about the actions that's happening today at BetOnline, where the game starts. We want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, of course, man, you got Ryan Tracy over here with Locked On Chiefs. And let's get into maybe the Chiefs picking, maybe the Texans picking, but you guys are going to put a prospect from the 2023 class on a team now. So, John Harris, we'll start with you. Who do you want to excuse me, my bad. My wife threw me off because she opened the door. John Harris, we'll start with you. Who would you like to place on a team? Is it Houston or is it another team?
It would be easy to pick Houston, but I'm gonna stay away from Houston for the time being. Maybe we'll come back to him later. And I can't believe I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna make a pick for the Indianapolis Colts.
Do it.
I'm gonna make a pick for the Indianapolis Colts, and I can't believe this. I can't believe that the Indianapolis Colts, with all how Chris Ballard is drafted, that they just haven't solved the left tackle issue. I mean, they knew Costanzo was getting near retirement, and he was the rock over there. Never made a Pro Bowl, but he was always solid. That organization, and I think Matt Ryan's going to be okay. That organization needs a left tackle, and I think in this 2023 draft, there are two guys that I would consider for them, and I'll pick one, and I'll keep it close to their home. I think Paris Johnson Jr. is probably the right player to put at left tackle for them. I think he's got that nasty demeanor. You put him next to Quentin Nelson, and all of a sudden Jonathan Taylor runs to the left side, and you're going to be hurting. So I can't believe I'm doing it. I can't believe I'm doing it for Ballard either. But I'm going to give the Colts left tackle, who is going to play tackle this year, Paris Johnson
And I was
Jr.
going to ask you about that. Do you think he'll maybe play guard? Because he's played a lot of guard.
Well, here's the thing. Ballard, back in 2018, had a decision to make with Braden Smith. If you remember, when Braden Smith was coming out of Auburn, there's all this talk, he'll move into guard. He's going to guard. He's going to guard. He's going to guard. And then Ballard's like, no, man, we're keeping him at tackle. And the guy has started at right tackle ever since. I think Paris Johnson Jr. goes out to left tackle. I think he will eventually be better than Nicholas Petit-Ferrer was. I think he's better than DeJuan Jones, but DeJuan Jones needs to stay on the right side because he is not quick-footed. I'm not the biggest fan. I think Johnson goes out to left tackle, and I think the Colts will take him and put him at tackle, and that ends up not being a great thing for the rest of the division at that point.
I like the way you think, John. I was going to go Indianapolis too, but I'll sidestep you here.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk a lot about the Chiefs tomorrow with Rob Rang, folks. Make sure you're here for that as well. But out west, you guys know, it's an arms race. And there's one thing that can help the Denver Broncos. And before last week, 10 days, I would have said, hey, you got to go get yourself a tackle as well. But they had something go on now that I think they're in trouble for what Russ needs right away. His best connection in running up to this season has been with Tim Patrick, who is now out. Yeah. This is going to be a problem. And I think Russ will be able to overcome it some, but I think in the end, you end up having to give him more weapons. And if you look, I think the Broncos are going to be close to a 500 club. I think most of the West is going to be strong enough that you got to think that they can get there, even without Tim Patrick, who was going to get a solid feed of targets. So why not give him another weapon? It takes too much, I think, to rebuild their offensive line. They have to get a couple more pieces there. I think free agency will be the answer for that. So why not put Kayshon Boutte on that Denver Broncos squad and let him go after it with Sutton and Hamler and everybody else that I think Russ needs? You got to give Russ a flourish. That's what I would do for the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson.
I'm going to go ahead and give a team a weapon as well. I'm going to stay at the wide receiver position. It's not going to be Kayshon Boutte, but the Chicago Bears. We see Justin Fields, everything that's going through right now. It's like they're throwing a bunch of names at guys that were supposed to work and just saying, hey, just go to the Bears and we'll see if you can come back from that. Why not just get him a top-tier weapon ahead of time? So right now, if we had to start today and place a rookie on the Chicago Bears, I'm going with Jordan Addison, receiver from USC, and obviously he transferred over from Pittsburgh, a guy who won the Biletnikoff Award. But, get your young quarterback a legit weapon who can consistently get open, who's going to work free, who's going to make plays, who's terrific run after catch, who made Kenny Pickett look good, who's kind of, trying to figure out if he can be a even second string quarterback right now in Pittsburgh. So that's what I'm going to go. I want to get Justin Fields some legit weapons because right now I feel like they kind of failed him in that department.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Darnell Mooney I think could be exciting, but that's really, in all honesty, he and Cole Kmet, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to go out west with this one, and the Las Vegas Raiders to me strike me as a team that have got seemingly all the pieces. I mean, they've got a tremendous pass rush. We obviously know what receivers they have. I think Derek Carr is going to get it done. And I think the running back will be by committee. I don't worry about that. But with that pass rush and facing what they have to face each and every week in the AFC West, I think the Raiders secondary is a major Achilles heel. So I will give the Las Vegas Raiders the guy that I think is the best corner, and that's Kelee Ringo from out of the University of Georgia. And there were a few corners I thought about, but Kelee Ringo from Georgia at 6'2", 205. Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels know all about the impact of Stephon Gilmore, and that's the way Ringo is built. And I think that guy could stand up to some of the bigger receivers in the division. So I'm going Kelee Ringo to the Las Vegas Raiders.
I like it. Getting the Las Vegas Raiders a cornerback, which is much needed. Right now they got a kid named Hobbs, and he's been surprisingly good for the Raiders. Not sure if they were expecting him to win the starting cornerback job, but indeed, that's what he's doing right now. When we come back, we're going to dive into either or. John Harris has some things lined up for us. We're going to talk about that next. All right, John, lay it on us. So I know we got some either or. This is one of my favorite times of the week. What do you got for us?
Okay, Hard Knocks is kicking off, right? First episode on Tuesday night. Everybody's excited about the Detroit Lions, and I'm kind of taking a little heat in Houston because on our morning training camp live shows on Sports Radio 610, I have said I'm bullish on the Lions. I am bullish on the Lions. Now, I don't know that I believe in Jared Goff, but I think the Lions can be better. Not because they're on Hard Knocks, but I just think they can be better. So I ask you this. The Lions made 2 first-round draft picks. Which one, and we will start with you, Ryan Tracy, which first-round Lions draft pick has an overall better long-term career, Aiden Hutchinson or the wide receiver, Jameson Williams?
That is a great one. I have to go with the birthday boy. Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the guy that long-term is going to be able to adjust. I know that he's got a future there that I think he can grow into, use his tools. Jameson Williams is an explosive player. Can he stay injury-free? That's going to be the question. Can he continue to excel at the NFL level? There's some adjustment there. And quite frankly, like you said, without a quarterback that you can steadily trust, I don't know if you can get there. So I'm going to take the defender and the pass rusher, Aiden Hutchinson.
I like the pass rusher as well. I think his ceiling just is, or not so much the ceiling, but his floor is just higher.
Yeah.
I think we know a little bit more what we're going to get, and then let's see if he can kind of take that to the next level. A guy who has a terrific work ethic. He has a really good motor, and we've seen him be able to dominate at a high level. I love Jameson Williams. He was, my wide receiver 1 in this last class, so clearly I think he's an incredible, explosive receiver. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm definitely going to go with the defensive end.
And obviously Jameson coming off the ACL, you never know how that, guys can struggle with that because some guys can come back clean. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably going Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, we're gonna use the Lions. So I want you to think of the Lions' offensive personnel right now, what it could turn into down the road. And we're gonna take 2 quarterbacks and put them on the Lions, just using that as a constant. Who makes more Pro Bowls? Either Trevor Lawrence or C.J. Stroud. Eric Crocker, we will start with you. Take the Lions. Think of the Lions. Just think of the personnel there. It's not bad offensive. The offensive line is pretty good. If Jameson is all that and a bag of chips, you put him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hey, you look around, you might have something. DJ Chark. So I want you to take Trevor Lawrence or C.J. Stroud to make more Pro Bowls in the future with that talent.
I'm still going to lean towards Trevor Lawrence, but really more so because of the head coach there, Doug Peterson. And it's crazy because this is a guy who was just out the league. He got fired a couple years after winning a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. But a guy who kind of can be that quarterback whisperer for him, get him right, especially when you have the quarterback who has all the intangibles, who has the work ethic and all the traits. Clearly, I'm going to lean more towards Trevor Lawrence. But again, mostly because of who his head coach is.
Okay, Ryan?
Well, I'll take the opposite because I don't think that CJ Stroud is a finished product yet. And who needs to adapt more than somebody that is still in a whole program that is coming up, looking to bite some kneecaps, trying to get some things done with a tight end like Hawkinson, looking to find your targets, who can adapt? And I'm going to say that Stroud, because he's still got development path in front of him and he hasn't been bogged down by, an Urban Meyer season or anything like that lately, I think he's got a bit more upside.
How tragic that Urban Meyer just destroyed that franchise for a year. All right. I'm going to give you $100 each. And I'm forcing you to go to Vegas. And you got to put it on a transfer quarterback to eventually be the bigger NFL star. And Ryan, we'll start with you. Are you putting it on either Spencer Rattler at South Carolina, formerly of Oklahoma, or USC quarterback Caleb Williams, formerly of Oklahoma? Put your money on a transfer to have the better NFL career. Ryan, you go first. Where do you put your $100?
If I had my choice, it'd be on Jackson Dart.
I almost put him in there. But I didn't. I held off.
I'll have to bet on red. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams, USC, because I do feel like Lincoln's going to get a hold there. He's got guys getting out of the way. They're going to make this big transition. I think there's going to be enough with Addison to get Caleb started. I think it's going to be able to be a progression. And I think the competition will actually help him go into the Big Ten in the future rather than the Big 12 that, if it still exists. Sorry.
He's going to tear up Big Ten defenses in his final year in 2023 or whenever they go there. So, Spencer Rattler or Caleb Williams, Eric Crocker?
Yeah, I just think that familiarity with the offense will make this transition a lot easier. I hate that Ryan and I keep agreeing on these things. But, going into an offense where you know exactly how to run it, you got added weapons. I love what they did getting Jordan Addison over there. I just talked about, hey, that's the guy would put on the Chicago Bears today if we were able to do that. So I like what they're doing at USC. They're continuing to build that. They added a bunch of weapons. They already have some weapons there at the receiver position. And, again, you got a head coach. You understand the system. I think that's an easy call with Williams.
Okay, let's change it then. Put your money on a transfer quarterback, Ryan Tracy, Caleb Williams, or Jackson Dart. Now, they're not 2023 class. They're both 2024 class. But put your money on Jackson Dart or Caleb Williams.
I'm going to disagree with Eric here. At least I hope he disagrees with me back because I'll take Jackson. I think he's got the bigger upside. And while I do think the Kemp's going to be very solid with Lincoln Riley, I think the X factor of what Dart can become, I'm going to put my money on that. And it's going to be a bet. We're in Vegas, so I'm going to put my money down and see what I can get.
You probably get better odds. All right, Eric Crocker, I see a look on your face. You're thinking about this. Jackson Dart or Caleb Williams. Dart now at Ole Miss after being at USC. Caleb Williams at USC after being at Oklahoma. One is Lane Kiffin, one is Lincoln Riley. They both should develop very, very well. Eric Crocker, lay your $100 down.
So I talked to my guy, Will Blackman, the other day, and he told me about how behind the scenes on a lot of these debate shows, they make guys pick one side. So I'm going to go with that and pick Williams just for argumentative purposes and say, I'm still sticking with the guy who's playing with his old coach, his old play caller, who knows what to expect, and I like what they're doing over there at USC. And you know what? Hold on.
Uh-oh, he's breaking something out. Oh, he's breaking out props
here on the show.
Breaking out props.
I'm going with USC. I'm going with Williams. Let's go.
I have nothing. That was brilliant. I have nothing. That was very well done, Eric
Folks,
Crocker.
thanks for coming out. That's a show.
Yeah, and that is a show. We definitely want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And make sure you check us out on YouTube as well. Hit the subscribe button, like button, all that good stuff. Leave reviews. We love it. Make sure you're following us all on Twitter at Eric_Crocker. We got Jay Harris Football. You got Ryan Tracy NFL. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts across the Locked On Network. Your team every day. Until then, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.